Good morning, class 10 students. I welcome you all on this online platform provided by Jagrati Classes. We were doing chapter 8 of class 10, that is how do organisms reproduce. And in this we have already started this chapter, so we'll be continuing our chapter. So this video lecture is for class 10 students and we are doing chapter 8, that is how do organisms reproduce. And in this chapter we have studied two kinds of reproduction, that is asexual and sexual reproduction. Then we studied asexual reproduction occurs in primitive organisms or lower organisms which are less developed. And I told you a comparative account between the asexual and sexual reproduction. Then we also studied the different types of asexual reproduction, that was binary fission, budding, and then we studied fragmentation, regeneration, okay? Then we moved on to plants, that is vegetative propagation in plants. Vegetative propagation is sort of similar to asexual, okay, we can say that. So vegetative propagation in which the vegetative parts of plant are being used to generate the new plant. Then we saw spore formation, then we saw different methods of vegetative propagation, that is you have cutting, grafting, layering, everything, and we discussed some of its examples. Then you also saw a very interesting example about bryophyllum leaf. The leaf of bryophyllum, it has the ability to generate many new plants. A single leaf can generate many number of plants because at the notches of the bryophyllum, small buds get originated, and these buds later on they develop the roots, and when they fall into the soil and they get favorable conditions, they germinate or they grow into a new bryophyllum plant. So these all we have already discussed. In the previous video lecture, I told you sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Flowering plants are also called angiosperms. This you have learned in the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms in standard 9th. So now we will be continuing. We have done the flowering plant portion. It is very important. I told you the different parts of the flower. Then we discussed what is the male gamete, the female gamete in the flower. Then we discussed what are the male reproductive part, androecium, and the female one was known as gynoecium or pistil. We discussed how pollination occurs and how the reproduction, the complete process I have explained you with all the diagrams required. Okay, and you have to make them whenever you are asked a question in exams about that sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Then we also did that this sexual reproduction in flowering plants, it is termed as double fertilization. And I told you why it is known as double fertilization, because 2 times fusion or fertilization occurs. The first fusion is known as syngamy, the next one is known as triple fusion. We have discussed how embryo gets formed, what is endosperm, what is the function of endosperm. In triple fusion and syngamy, which process occurs firstly, that is triple fusion occurs first, why, we have discussed all the concepts. So now what we'll be starting is sexual reproduction in human beings. And for this, we'll be starting with the male reproductive system. So this is a diagram of male reproductive system in humans. We are starting with sexual reproduction in human beings. And the first we have to study the anatomy of male reproductive system, then we'll be studying the female reproductive system, different parts, and then we'll be seeing how this zygote or how reproduction occurs and everything, okay? So let's start with male reproductive system. The diagram is in front of you. So you see, you have different parts. Now we'll be doing different parts of male reproductive system. First part which you have to study is this scrotum. And as you can see in the diagram itself, this scrotum is what? It is, see, a bag-like structure. This part, the sac-like or bag-like structure is known as scrotum. So the first part which you have to study is scrotum. And we'll be writing the structure and the related functions of each and every part simultaneously. So scrotum is a sac-like, or you can say it is a bag-like structure. The next point in scrotum would be, it contains testes within it. Okay? The scrotum contains testis, as you can see. This is the pouch or bag-like structure in which testis is present. So the scrotum contains testis inside it. And then what is the role of scrotum? It helps to maintain 2 to 3 degrees lower temperature compared to the body temperature. Why so? Why the scrotum maintains some lower amount of temperature compared to the body temperature? Because you see, the scrotum contains testis in it, and this testis is responsible for production of sperms, and sperms are the male gametes. So inside this testis is responsible for the formation of sperms. Sperms are your male gametes, and for the formation of sperms you require a lower temperature compared to the body temperature. So we are writing that this scrotum helps to maintain 2 to 3 degrees lower temperature compared to the body temperature. And why this lower temperature is required? Why you require lower temperature? Because we are writing the reason. Because sperm synthesis, that is the production of sperms, require lower temperature values. So this is the reason. So first part we have completed scrotum. It is a sac or bag-like structure which contains testis inside it, and this scrotum has a function to maintain a lower temperature 2 to 3 degrees lower as compared to the body temperature, because this lower temperature is responsible for sperm synthesis, for the production of sperms. Now moving on to the next part. Okay, the next part which we'll be discussing is testis. This testis is present outside your abdominal cavity. It is not present in abdomen. It is present outside the abdominal cavity in the sac or the pouch called scrotum. So the next part, the second part which we'll be discussing would be testis. So the testis, the first point in it would be, it is present outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch, or you can say in a sac-like structure, which is called scrotum, we just discussed. Okay, why this is present in scrotum? Because testis is involved in the formation of sperms, and sperms are synthesized only when they have some lower temperature compared to the other body temperature. So we say that testis, it is present outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch called scrotum. Then the next point in testis would be, it is responsible for the formation of sperms. And sperms are what? Sperms are the male gametes. And gametes are even written as germ cells. So if you are asked what are the male gametes in humans, then the answer would be sperms. Sperms are known as the male gamete or the male germ cells in human beings. Then the next point in testis would be, it has one more function. One function is it helps in the production of sperms. The next function is it secretes an hormone which is known as testosterone. It secretes an hormone which is known as testosterone. Now this testosterone is again very important. It again has two functions. The first function of this hormone testosterone is, it is helpful for the synthesis of sperm, for synthesis of the male gametes which are the sperms. And the next is what? It helps in the development of, secondary characters or secondary characteristic features in males, okay, during puberty. that is during the adolescence age, when we become sexually mature, then this testosterone serves two functions. First function is it is helpful in the production of sperms. The next function is it helps in the development of secondary features. Secondary features is, for example, you can say hairs along all the body parts, and you have growth of hairs on like face, development of beard are the secondary features. Then you have that voice in the males, it becomes somewhat heavier, high pitched. So these are all the secondary features which testosterone develops in the males during puberty. So this is all the function of testis. What you should know, that testis, it is present outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch which is called as scrotum. This testis is responsible for the formation of sperms. The sperms are known as the male gametes. And next you have, it secretes an hormone, testosterone. Testosterone has two functions. It helps in the production of sperms and it helps in the development of secondary characters in males during puberty. Now the next part, if you again see the diagram, then the sperms which are produced, okay. Firstly, I'll tell you somewhat about sperms also. Do not label sperms as 3 because it is not a part. These are the male gametes. So sperms are the male gametes in human beings. Then the next point would be, these sperms, they have a structure that is, they can be divided into, their body can be differentiated into, their body can be differentiated into 3 regions, that is head, neck and tail region. So these sperms, they have a long tail, a very elongated tail-like structure. And what is the function of this tail? This tail, it helps in motility, okay? Or you can say that this tail helps the sperm to swim and move in the reproductive pathway. And this head region, this head contains the genetic material. So these are a brief introduction. This was a brief introduction about sperms. Sperms are the male gametes in human beings. Sperms, their body is differentiated into head, neck and tail regions. The importance of head is it contains genetic material, and the importance of tail, tail helps the sperm to swim and it can move forward in the reproductive passage. Now next what we'll be discussing is the sperms which are produced by the testis. These sperms, you can see, they move into, the sperms from here, they move into this structure. And this structure is a tube-like structure which is known as the epididymis. And from the epididymis, the sperms move into a thin tube, as I am labeling it. And this thin tube is known as vas deferens. So now what we'll be studying, the third part is vas deferens. So the third part would be vas deferens. So vas deferens, it is a very thin tube-like structure, okay. Then the next would be, it arises from testis. It starts from the testis, and from the testis it collects the sperm, and then the sperm swim through this vas deferens, you can see, and this vas deferens is uniting with another tube which is coming from upside, that is, this is the urinary bladder. So you can see that this vas deferens, it combines with the tube coming from the urinary bladder, and both these tubes combine and they form a single tube. So we say that vas deferens is very long, very elongated, thin tube-like structure. It helps in the transport of sperms away from the testis. And then next is, it combines with the tubule coming from the urinary bladder. So we can say it provides a path for the sperms to swim and move further. Then next what you have is, this vas deferens, it combines, as you can see the diagram in your books too, This vas deferens, it is combining with another tubule, another tube-like structure arising from, or you can say coming from, the bladder, coming from urinary bladder. Okay, so vas deferens combined with the another tubule, another tube-like structure which comes from a urinary bladder. And because from the urinary bladder, urine would be released out, and in the vas deferens you have sperms. So now this tubule, when vas deferens combines with the tubule coming with the urinary bladder, it serves as a common pathway for both, for the sperms and for the urine. So we say that vas deferens, it serves as a common pathway for both, that is for the urine as well as sperms. Okay, now let's again move to our diagram of male reproductive system. Now we said that the sperms which are produced in the testes, these are carried away by the tubular structure, that is vas deferens. This vas deferens, when it moves further, it joins with a tubule coming from the urinary bladder, and now this pathway is the common path for both urine and the sperms. And now when it moves further, then the last which we have to study is penis. So penis is what? Penis is a muscular organ surrounding the vas deferens. It is the last part of the male reproductive system. So now fourth, we have much space. So penis. Penis is the last part of male reproductive system, and it is the muscular part or the muscular organ. Okay? So this completes your male reproductive system, and you have to draw the diagram whenever you are asked, describe male reproductive system with its different parts and the related functions. So you have to write everything I have told you. I have told you the name of the parts, I have told you their structure as well as their functions, and we have discussed the diagram. I hope you have understood this, that how the sperms are produced, testosterone, what is the function of testosterone, then these sperms are carried away by the vas deferens to which part, what is the last part of male reproductive system, everything we have discussed. Now we'll be starting with the next, that is female reproductive system. Okay. Okay. Now you have a diagram of female reproductive system in front of you. And as we discuss the male reproductive system, in the similar manner, we'll be discussing the female reproductive system in human beings. So this is the diagram of female reproductive system. The first part of female reproductive system which we'll be discussing are these ovaries, which are shown in a different color, that is in a blue color. Okay, so this is the ovary. Now ovary, this is a circular sac-like structure again, and this ovary, it contains, as you can see in the diagram, it contains thousands of eggs. So we say that in human beings, one pair of ovaries is found on the either side, and then one pair, that means you have two ovaries, one pair of ovaries on either side, and these ovaries, they contain thousands of eggs each. Okay, each ovary contains approximately hundreds to thousands of eggs within them. So we say that when the girl takes birth, okay, when the girl is born, at the time of the birth, the ovaries of the girl contain thousands, hundreds to thousands of eggs, and these eggs are present in immature state. So whenever a girl is born, their ovaries contains numerous eggs, that is hundreds to thousands of eggs are present, and these eggs are present in immature state at the time of birth. So you can see you have many immature eggs present in the ovaries. Then next point would be, after the girl attains puberty, that is at adolescence age, whenever a girl attains puberty, each egg, or we'll write every month, one single egg, once it matures, single egg is being matured from one ovary, and the next month the other egg matures from the next ovary. But in 1 month, only one single egg gets matured. So we are writing, after the girl attains puberty, every month one egg gets matured. Okay? Alternatively, one from each ovary. But only a single egg every month gets matured. Now, when the egg gets matured, then the matured egg, it moves, and this egg is what? This egg serves as the female gamete. So you should remember that the female gamete in females, in human beings, is the egg. This egg is also known as ovum, and the plural of ovum is ova. It's one and the same thing. So ovum is the female gamete, or you can call it egg, and the male gamete was sperms. So once each month, one of the eggs or one of the ovum gets matured. The matured ovum is moved to the tubular part. You can see that after the ovary you have a tubular part, and this tubular part is known as fallopian tube. So it is also known as oviduct. Okay, it has two names, either you can call it fallopian tube or you can call it oviduct. So first part we have dealt with ovaries. I have told you every point regarding ovaries. Now we are moving to the next part, which is fallopian tube. So the next part would be fallopian tube. So first point would be, it is also called as oviduct. Okay, this fallopian tube, it is also called as oviduct. The next part would be the egg which gets matured. When the egg is released from the ovary, it passes to the fallopian tube. Or you can say that the fallopian tube, it receives ovum or the egg, which is your female gamete, from the ovaries. And once this fallopian tube or oviduct receives the egg, now the egg remains in this fallopian tube, and what happens is, the sperms which travel from the testes and they are released outside through the penis. Now you have the sperms released from the penis. Now these sperms, they will travel to the fallopian tube. And here I have not discussed some portions, that is these glands. So you can see the brown colored glands here. So we'll write it down also in the male reproductive system. What we have is, so you have seminal vesicle and prostate gland. Okay, this we are discussing the point which we left for the male reproductive system. So this would make your fifth part. So you have certain glands which I showed you just now, the brown colored glands. You can see the diagram in your books too. So these seminal vesicle and prostate gland, their secretions, they secrete certain hormones and enzymes. Not enzymes, they secrete hormones, and their secretion also have two functions. The first function performed by the secretion of these glands is, they provide nourishment to the sperms. Okay, so the first function is it provides nourishment to the sperms, and the next function is it helps to provide fluid medium it provides a fluid medium, and this fluid medium enables the sperm to swim easily and pass through the male reproductive tract. So it provides a fluid medium in which the sperms can swim easily. So these are the functions of these two glands, seminal vesicle and prostate gland. Now we said that the sperms, after the production of sperms in the testis, they travel through this reproductive tract and they are released out. So these sperms which are released out, now they will enter the female reproductive system. So the released out sperms, they enter the female reproductive system through the last part, that is vagina. So we'll see that the sperms enter the female reproductive tract through the vagina. Then after this vagina, they pass through the cervix, and after passing through the cervix, they come to the oviduct or fallopian tube. This is the fallopian tube you have. From each ovary, you have the tubular structures which are called as fallopian tube. Okay, and these two fallopian tube, they combine together in a bag-like structure which is known as uterus. So we are saying that once an egg matures, every single month one egg matures from the ovary. This matured egg reaches the fallopian tube. Till this time, the sperms released from the male reproductive system, they enter through the vagina, they pass to the cervix, and they travel till the fallopian tube. And in the fallopian tube, this ovum or egg, that is the female gamete, and the sperms, they undergo fertilization or fusion. And due to the fusion between egg and sperms, a new cell forms which is called zygote. Okay, so we'll be writing everything which we discussed. We were on fallopian tube. We call that, it is also called as oviduct. The fallopian tube receives ovum from the ovaries. Then these would be, you have again one pair of fallopian tubes are present outside each ovary. So each ovary has its fallopian tube. Because you have one pair of ovaries, so you have two fallopian tube or one pair of fallopian tube outside each ovary. And these fallopian tubes, they combine together. You can see in the diagram, I explained you that both the fallopian tube arising from the ovaries, they combine together into a bag-like structure, and that bag-like structure is known as uterus. So fallopian tubes combine together into a muscular bag-like structure which is known as uterus. Okay, and this fallopian tube or oviduct, when the egg comes in the fallopian tube, in the meantime the sperm also travels through the vagina, cervix and uterus and reaches the fallopian tube. And in this fallopian tube, the fusion or fertilization between the sperm, that is the male gamete, sperm is your male gamete. Fusion between sperm and ovum occurs, that is between the egg and sperm fusion occurs, and this process leads to the formation of zygote. After the fusion, the cell which is formed is known as zygote. So fusion occurs, and this fusion you can call it to be fertilization. So if you are asked a question in examinations, in human beings, what is the site of fertilization or what is the location of fertilization? The answer would be fallopian tube, or you can call it to be oviduct. So in fallopian tube, fertilization occurs in humans. This would be the answer. And then you can also be asked to define the process of fertilization. Okay, that what do you understand by this term? So fallopian tube, remember, it is the site of fertilization. The most important point, I am rewriting it. Fallopian tube is the site, or you can call it to be the location of fertilization in humans. And to define the process of fertilization, you can write, it is a process of It is a process of fusion between the male and the female gamete. Between the male gamete, in humans, the male gamete is what? It is sperms. So fusion between male gamete and female gamete is simply called as fertilization. The female gamete in humans is known as egg or ovum. So whenever fusion occurs between the male gamete and female gamete, this process is simply known as fertilization. Talking about humans, the male gamete is sperms and the female gamete is egg or ovum. And if you are writing, describing the fertilization in human beings, you can also add one point that it occurs in fallopian tube in humans. Or you can call it occurs in oviduct in humans. This is a very important question. It is frequently asked. So this was all an account of oviduct or fallopian tube. Now the next part which we have is the uterus. So we'll be discussing uterus now. So uterus is the next part of female reproductive system, and this would be the third part. Okay? So talking about uterus, as you can see in the diagram, it is a muscular sac-like structure. Then the next point here in uterus would be it has a thick lining. That is, it is made up of many layers of muscles. So we say that it has thick walls made up of or composed of muscles. And its important function is after the formation of zygote, the zygote which is formed after the fusion of male and female gamete in the fallopian tube, you have the formation of zygote. This zygote now travels through the fallopian tube, and while traveling it divides. Okay, I also have a diagram to explain you this. See, this is the ovary. This ovary releases the ovum, and this is the sperm. Now when the sperm and ovum combines, you have the formation of a single cell which is called zygote. Now when this zygote travels through the remaining part of fallopian tube, it continuously divides, as you can see. Okay, you do not have to remember the name of these, but you can see that this zygote travels through the fallopian tube, and during its journey it divides. You can see the number of cells are increasing. First you have 2 cells, then you have the formation of 4 cells, and these 4 cells now again continuously divide to form many number of cells. So what is happening is the number of cells are increasing, and once this zygote reaches the uterus, till this part, this zygote has many number of cells in it, and hence this zygote is now known as embryo. Okay, so you can say that the zygote, I'll write here in short, that zygote, once after fusion you have the formation of zygote. Now the zygote travels through the fallopian tube, and during traveling and during its journey, the zygote divides continuously, and due to this division, it forms large number of cells. It forms large number of cells inside it. Okay, it has a single external covering, but now it contains many number of cells inside its structure, and this structure which contains so many large number of cells, it is now called as embryo. So from the zygote you have the formation of embryo. Now when this embryo reaches the uterus, it gets embedded, it gets stuck with the muscle lining of the uterus, and this process is called implantation. Okay, I hope you understood this flow chart and the process of formation of zygote, formation of embryo from the zygote. Now in the uterus you can write, I have explained you the embryo which is formed from the zygote, the embryo which is formed from the zygote, it gets embedded Embedded means it gets stuck, okay? It gets attached. So it gets embedded in the uterine wall. Uterine wall means wall of the uterus. So this embryo which is formed from the zygote, it now gets embedded or it gets attached very deeply with the walls of the uterus. And this process of attachment of zygote, the process of attachment of zygote to the muscular wall of uterus is called as implantation. So you can be asked in exam, what do you mean by the process of implantation? What you will write, that once the zygote is formed, zygote forms where? In the fallopian tube. Then this zygote continuously divides to form the embryo. And this embryo gets attached to the muscular wall of the uterus, and this attachment process is called implantation. Okay? I hope you understood from this diagram that how embryo is formed from zygote, and now this embryo is attaching, this is your uterus, the walls of uterus, and when this attaches, it is known as implantation. So see, we have discussed the different parts of female reproductive system. After this, you should just know the name, that is cervix and vagina. Vagina is the external opening of the female reproductive tract or female reproductive system. This completes the description, the anatomy of male reproductive system with its all different parts and functions, and similarly we have completed the female reproductive system also. So in the next class we will be dealing again with the process of fertilization, and then we will be seeing the further processes which occur in the humans. Okay, so thank you for joining today's class. Hope to see you soon.